way, would you please give a very warm welcome to corporate anthropologist Michael Henderson.
Thank you. The story my grandfather told me, this is many years ago, about a worker in a Russian factory not long after the revolution in the new Soviet Union. And at the end of every workday, the workers would leave the factory, go down to the gates of the factory and be stopped by security guards. And they would be searched to ensure that they weren't taking any tools or any equipment or even any of the motherland's resources out of the factory. And this one particular worker used to kind of wheel a wheelbarrow with him, and he would carry his grey coat for the winter in there, perhaps a basket to carry his lunch in. And the security guards every day would stop him, search under the coat, make sure the basket didn't have any tools, etc. And this went on day after day, week after week, century. It's something we increasingly need to be paying attention to in organizations, because people, and even what we're all doing here today, playing with ideas, have actually started to contribute far more to organizations in that way than perhaps they have ever before. And as an anthropologist, I find that fascinating. So the field of corporate anthropology is literally the discovery and the search for what is the nature of people in organizations. He was introduced as the CEO, and I didn't know much about business, so I kind of went, well, CEO, what's that? So I leant across to the person next to me and said, what's a CEO? He said, well, it's the chief executive officer. And I just went, whoa, because that first word as an anthropologist captured me, of course. So I went, cool. So I pulled out my little black notebook and got my pen ready. Two things you should know. Anybody carrying a black notebook is one of two things. They're an anthropologist or they're a policeman. So you go there to study other people and perhaps even reveal who they truly are. In reality, what happens is, as you're studying them and spending time with them, you reveal not who they are, but of course, who you are. So you come face to face with your own prejudices. That can be sexist, it can be political, it can be racist. And that's not necessarily a pleasant thing to experience. And so the more I looked at this, I suddenly realized that, in fact, the lessons that are to be learnt from traditional tribes and traditional cultures do not need to be shared with traditional tribes and traditional cultures. They're already okay. And it occurred to me that the people that really needed some of these lessons on how to build cultures and effective leadership were, in fact, the tribe I'd just left in London, that toxic cult environment. It occurred to me, in fact, that organizations are the modern tribes. I experienced that many of us spend far more hours in our workplace or our education places, here we are at the school, than potentially we do even in our own national culture or our own. In fact, I'd say business is just the latest cultural trend. Culture's been around as long as human beings have been processing cognitive thought and communing together on this planet. Business, in the forum that we currently, most of us operate, is barely 400 years old. So do you think maybe there's some lessons in that traditional cultural experience that we could draw on and engage from within our organization? Here's the interesting thing. I've traveled extensively. I think I won that prize for countries visited. Over 70 countries looking at cultures and tribes. So if there's a chocolate fish up for grabs, put my name down for it. And well, here's what I found is there's no tribe I've ever come across that runs engagement surveys. Why would they? They're in contact with the people. They understand what's going on. They don't need to run a survey to get that feedback. It's in dialogue, it's in everyday expression. It's brought to the table at every meeting. So they're paying attention to it. They're actually truly listening to each other as tribe members. We just don't do that in organizations. I often suggest that leadership in modern organizations has become an email sort. In tribes, it's a contact sport. And again, it sounds like a clever play on words, but there's some real differences that show up when you do that, and lessons potentially to be learned from. So there's some reality as a result in there as well. So, parting words for you, I guess what I'd like to leave you with is just the opportunity to explore in your own lives, in your own tribe, be that your own family, the organizations you work for and belong to. Just have a look and measure yourself in terms of how you're relating to others, the results you're striving for. Are you jeopardizing and stepping on relationships that maybe deserve more dignity than that? And can you find the courage to consider maybe waving your white flag, surrendering your position, your opportunity to win for that relationship? I believe that's a great idea, worth doing. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Fantastic.